Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be watching a video called Habits I've Learned from the Dutch. So this looks very interesting because I know that Dutch people have like a really interesting culture.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about habits that Dutch people have taught me. I did a video, I think it was my last video, where I was talking about weird or strange aspects of the Dutch culture, whereas in this video I want to talk about some of those aspects of their culture that have really improved my life and habits that I've been happy to take on. Some of them a little bit more purposefully and some of them by accident, but I'm going to talk about them in this video, so let's get into it. So my number one habit that I've picked up from the Dutch people is being direct. Now I know a lot of expats and a lot of foreigners will say the Dutch are notorious for being direct, and it can come across sometimes as a little bit rude.
Yeah.
I want to defend this. I don't think that is their intention. I don't think that's being rude. And I think this has a lot to do with me having learnt Dutch and learning how the words are built in sentences and how they use the language to communicate with each other. It's just how you speak. In English,
that's
we
interesting.
have a tendency to add in a lot of filler words. We fluff up our sentences with a lot of stuff that is completely unnecessary.
Just flowery.
When I was first learning Dutch, I would take the sentence that I wanted to say in English, and then I would basically translate all of those words
you have to
Dutch
think in Dutch.
produce my Dutch sentence. And it doesn't sound Dutch because that's not how they use the language. My partner would be like, you don't need to say that, you don't need to say that, and to take all of these extra words that I was wanting to use all the time. The Dutch are direct, they say what they mean. And now that we're back in Australia, I have found that I've been using my English in a very Dutch way. I tend to use a lot less filler words and I just say what I mean. I'm being way more direct. People are probably thinking I'm being abrasive. I'm just saying what I mean and I'm getting to the point, and I'm using my Dutch efficiency to get my
You're like reverse culture shock.
So number two habit would be being less fake friendly. I think being in Australia and coming from an English speaking culture, we have a tendency again to use all those fluffy words, but this over dramatization of being friendly and big smiles and bouncy words and sentences where the tone is like this, and how are you going, and what can I do for you today, and big smiles, and it kind of feels a little fake. Now that I've been exposed to a couple of years of Dutch culture where it's polite, it's nice, there's nothing rude about it, but it's not fake, it's not over the top, it's not too much, it's just kind of normal. And being put back into Australian culture, I'm like, why are all these people behaving like this? It's so weird. So I think
don't you think that's weird?
I had to take that on, only being excited and happy when I really mean it, and not because I feel like that's how you should communicate with people. So being less fake friendly and being more genuine with my emotions. Now my third habit is more to do with how the Dutch plan everything. They plan ahead for everything. Doesn't matter if it's a 30-minute chat, if it's a casual coffee, if it's a drop by. The Dutch plan, and weeks ahead. I know it took me a long time to get used to this when I first got to the Netherlands, because I was so used to that Australian culture of like, oh, we're in the neighborhood, like let's just drop by, or we just stopped in, or knocking on someone's door to see if they're home. And that does not exist in the Netherlands. You make an appointment with someone, you make it weeks in advance. I think people's private time is really sacred as well, and that was something that doesn't really exist in the Australian culture. If someone in the Netherlands has time off, that's also time for them, and if they want to see you, they'll make time to see you. They also rarely cancel, and they are always on time. And these are two aspects that I love about the Dutch culture. If you make a plan with someone, you can guarantee that it will probably go through, because everyone respects each other's time.
You know what? Love it.
In Australia, it's that little bit more casual, and if you don't make it this time, it doesn't matter, you'll just make it next time, or you'll push out that date that little bit further. So I have tried to adopt this, and if I make a plan, I am always on time.
You're committed.
I stick to it. A plan is a plan. So
I
my
like
next
that.
point, I don't think I really realized I was doing, but when my mother came to visit us when we were living in Amsterdam and it drizzled like the tiniest bit, she was like, oh, well, we'll just stay inside today. We'll make like a home day. And at first I was like, but why? We've planned to do this and we've planned to do that. We're going to go to the market and this and that. And it is very ingrained in the Dutch culture. You just do what you got to do. It does not matter what the weather is doing. You still need to cycle to work. You still need to walk the dog. You still need to go to the supermarket. And I think in Australia, we are very weather sensitive. There's so many sunny days and so many nice days in the year
because
that you can afford to have that kind of attitude. If it doesn't work out today or tomorrow will be sunny, we'll just do it tomorrow. The problem is that if you have that attitude in the Netherlands, you'd never get anything done. It rains a lot, it's windy a lot, it's cloudy a lot, or it's cold a lot. So you just have to do what you've got to do.
You'll never leave your house.
I love that I still will go for a walk even if it's raining, or still get outside even if it's cold. So that has been a really good aspect of Dutch culture that I have 100% tried to incorporate into my own life and stop being such a weather sensitive Australian. This probably follows on to my next point, which is dressing for the weather. I think in Australia, we basically pretend that winter doesn't exist and still wear shorts and t-shirt in winter, which makes no sense. But
how cold is it in Australia in the winter?
Especially probably this is more aimed at the women. They don't dress over the top. There's not a lot of makeup. They don't wear heels very often. Practicality and comfortability are like priority number one when it comes to dressing yourself. And I love that. I love that things are kind of a little bit more casual. Even if you are going out for an evening meal, you can just wear jeans and a nice top and that's enough. So I like that. Be warm,
that's really
be comfortable, be practical in the way that you dress, be presentable, and that's it. So I have definitely taken that.
I thought Australia was like that actually.
Now this one I'm still working on, but I do massively appreciate it. I think that the Dutch are very good at asking for what they want. And in Australian culture and in English speaking culture, you kind of dance around topics a little bit. And I mentioned this earlier in the
fact that we add a lot of
fluff to how we're speaking.
Yeah.
The Dutch have a saying and it goes, een nee heb je, maar een ja kun je krijgen.
What does that mean?
Essentially it's saying that you have a no, but you can get a yes. And I think the saying that we probably have in English would be, you never know unless you ask.
Yeah.
The Dutch are very good at asking. If you want that discount, if you want that freebie, if you want that pay rise, if you want that promotion,
just ask.
There's no harm in asking, but you have to ask to see if you'll get it.
Of course, because
so I love
nobody will
this.
know.
I'm definitely trying to purposefully create this and ask for those things and ask for what I want, and it makes a big difference. So this is a very good habit to take on board. Dus een nee heb je, maar een ja kun je krijgen. The next habit is looking for a bargain. The Dutch have been known to be tight with their
they're cheap.
Don't even get me started with Tiki. But looking for a bargain and looking for value in what you purchase has been a really good habit to take on board. The Dutch will research things and search for different options and prices at different places and make sure that what they're purchasing is 100% what they want, and that they've found that product or that thing for the best value possible, the best bargain. So being with my Dutch partner for the last 3 years has definitely made me way more financially aware. I'm way less willy-nilly with my money, and we definitely search for a bargain. To be fair, when we were in Asia, he was the one that did all of the haggling and all of the negotiating, because it's just in his bones to be like that. But I've learned a lot from him, and I've learned a lot about looking for a bargain. So that is another part of the Dutch culture that I have 100% taken on board. So my very last habit that I have learned from the Dutch people would be to use public transport and walking and
like your car is just
cycling to get places, and adopting this and being outside and being kind of more active, I guess, in where you go and how you get there. Coming from Australia, a country that is so spread out, every time you leave the house you get in the car, and you've got this
public transport in Australia
that has this very strong car culture. And when I got to the Netherlands, we had been cycling in Asia for about 10 months. So I like to joke and say that was my test to see if they'd let me in. But I was cycling everywhere, and it really drummed out that car culture, that you need a car to get places. So we have been 100% reliable on public transport and cycling and walking to get our daily things done, groceries, get to work, all of those things. And it's not weird to not have your driver's license in the Netherlands. It's super
That's
expensive.
so weird.
So the government itself even discourages people from wanting to get their license. So I love this fact about the Dutch culture, and I've definitely been trying to adopt that. It's been tricky here knowing that everything's so spread out that we do jump in the car a lot more often.
You can.
But cannot wait to get back to the Netherlands and jump back on our bikes and be riding around, especially now that our daughter is old enough to be jumping on with us. So they are my habits that I have learned from the Dutch. If you have been living in the Netherlands or you've picked up some Dutch habits, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to read them and hear about them. If you liked this video, then please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And if you want to see more videos about language learning and learning Dutch, then please remember to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Okay, so a lot of interesting things that she said, but it's like it's funny to me because a lot of things like the car thing, for instance, it's like, yes, absolutely, like I get exactly what she's talking about. It's like, yes, you know, you have to like, well, she got used to and they got used to like using their car less. And she's like, oh, I can't wait to like go back. But it's like something that it's true because like you're doing it like there when you're in the Netherlands. But like she said, in Australia, like it's different because I think it's so like each city and each country, like it's so different when it comes to like public transport or, you know, a good like cycling system, like bicycle lanes, or, you know, just good trains, good buses, or good even walking, because some cities are just not apt for, you know, for pedestrians. So it's like, it's funny that, well, it depends because obviously, and it sucks obviously, because if you got used to like this lifestyle of the Netherlands of just, you know, biking around, just, you know, you don't really use a car, you don't really need a car. But sadly, that's not the reality for a lot of other places like Australia. I don't know where she's located in Australia, but she did mention like it is, you know, it's a very car-centric place. Like maybe there's no like good public transport, there's no good trains. So you really do have to use your car. So it's like, it sucks because it's like, I wanna be less, you know, I wanna depend on my car less, but it's impossible to me it's impossible if I'm living here because, you know, the city doesn't have the infrastructure. So it's like the want is there, you know, the will is there, but sadly the way is not there. So it's like, it sucks because, you know, she got used to it. It's like, no, it just sucks. But, you know, the A for effort, obviously, she's like, I can't wait to like go back and just like walk around because it is very nice. But it's funny that a lot of the things she said are related to like the Dutch language, I think, is like the whole being like direct and concise and asking for what you want, and it's not frowned upon. It's not, because I think usually, you know, in probably, I don't know, I'm trying to think like, yeah, probably most cultures, I think it's like being so direct when you're like asking for things, for instance. I think it's a little weird. Like no one's going to tell you anything, but it sounds maybe like she said, it's like a little rude. Like, wait, hold on, like you're coming up way too strong. And apparently in the Netherlands and in Dutch culture, like that's normal, that's the way. But also, like she said, it's so interesting because she was like, it's just the way that the language is sort of, you know, the way that language is. And of course, languages are such a big part of how a country and how a culture is actually like, it can give you a lot of clues. So it's like, well, yeah, so it's such an important part that it's like, well, if you say it like that, it doesn't really surprise me because, you know, that apparently the Dutch language like doesn't really use, I don't know anything actually about like the Dutch language. So I can't really vouch for anything, but she says like you don't really use a lot of like flowery language, a lot of like flowery words, which I think English does lend itself for it. You don't really have to use it, but it's a language that really does lend itself to even like the way, you know, the expressions and the way I'm saying it. It's like I can be more direct, but I think again, the English language, it lends itself to just, you know, add a lot of things and just be like very flowery language. It's a very flowery language, and apparently Dutch is more, you know, it's more concise, it's more direct. Just say what you want to say. So that's why I think it's like she says like you don't really speak like that, just like adding a lot of like extra words, and just like don't do that in Dutch. So it makes sense that they are so like good at asking for things and being so direct. It's because their language really does allow it. So maybe I think that's where the culture shock comes in. if they are translating because obviously they're thinking in Dutch and that's normal for them, and then if they're like translating it in their head in some language like English or French or whatever, it's like it can make you feel like, oh, they're so rude. But it's like, no, it's not rude. It's just the way like their brain works, because that's the way their language works. And, you know, as an extra step, their culture works like that and their society works like that. So it's like, oh, you know what? It makes so much sense. But it's funny that also she was mentioning like the whole like, oh, they're very like laid back about like how they dress. They're very comfortable. I think you need to, if you live in a place with inclement weather, you know, like so many like huge gusts of wind and just rainy day, or basically like, I don't know, like all year long. You know, I don't know if how the summer is actually like, probably they get some sunny days, but probably like it's obviously it's gonna be fewer. So it's like you have to adapt. Obviously, you have to be comfortable. Otherwise, you wouldn't like leave your house. You wouldn't like do anything. So you really do have to make the most out of it, and you have to go out. It doesn't really matter if it's like it's a thunderstorm or a thunderstorm outside. It's like, well, you have to, you know, put on a jacket and go out. So it's like, it's chill. I don't know. It's like whatever. It's raining. Who cares? When obviously if you have the luxury of having like a lot of sunny days, it's like she said, like it doesn't matter, like we'll just do it tomorrow. I don't want to go out with like this ugly weather. It's like whatever, no, I won't. But it's like, and that's, you know, they're laid back, so they don't really care. She was like, oh, you know, women, especially like for women, there's like less pressure in like, oh, I have to look good, you know, I have to be presentable, like maybe in like in the workplace environment or something. It's like, no, everyone's got to be comfortable, because like, again, it's very like, it's the weather, it sucks. So it's like, I can't really like, oh, I can't look like that nice. But it's funny that it's coming from an Australian, because I was thinking like the idea that I have in my head of Australians is like, they're super laid back and chill as well. So she's saying like, I feel like less pressure to like, I don't know, like put on makeup or I don't know, getting like fancier or getting dressed. In the Netherlands than in Australia, because I was like, wow, really? That surprised me, because I think in my mind, Australians are like super relaxed about it, about like their appearance in general. Like they don't really care. Like you can just wear jeans or flip flops or whatever, and no one's gonna be looking at you weird. So it's like, oh my god, for her to say like she feels less pressure, it's like, that's crazy to me, because I was thinking that Australia is like a really laid back country. No one's going to be paying any attention to how you're dressed. So it's like, that was incredibly interesting to me. But I think maybe also that really does have to do with like your personality, because I know that not every woman is the same, and not every person is the same, and you know, whatever. Like again, it's just generalizing. I'm supposing there are some Dutch women that really do put a lot of like effort into their appearance, and just because they like it, they like dressing nice, or they like putting on makeup or whatever. Just there are some Australians that also like prefer that or not, whatever. But I get it. It's like, that surprised me, I'm just gonna say, because I was under the impression that Australians were like super laid back about it. To the point where they don't even wear shoes sometimes, and it's just like normal. So it's like, that's crazy. But I think it was like so funny also, the fact of like the winter thing, because he was like, oh, you know, in the winter, but it's like, how hard can an Australian winter be? Maybe I'm totally wrong, and maybe there are some places that, because I know that Australia is huge, so Australia maybe does have a lot of some cities that do get like very harsh winters. But it's funny that she was like, I was like thinking, well, how harsh can an Australian winter be? I know that in the desert maybe it gets like it gets hard, well, because it's the desert in general, like it's not like a pleasant environment, you know, it's like very, very hot during the day and very cold nights. But I don't know if Australia actually gets snow. I don't think they do get snow, or even like to the point of like, even maybe not snow, but like a lot of like very, very cold. I have no idea, but I understand where she's coming from. But she's like, well, I'm an Australian, so I have to like, it's like, oh, no, I'm not cold at all. But it's like, maybe the winter can get cold, but you're like, there's a thing about like being proud and being like, no, I'm not cold. You know, I'm from Australia. Like I'm always hot. But it's like, no, not really. Like, of course, if the winter is hot, it's very like you get cold. Please like put on a jacket. You don't have to like put on a brave face. But obviously, it's in any way, I don't think it's comparable to like obviously a Dutch winter, which I'm guessing again, like the Netherlands does really get harsh weather like throughout the year, and I think they do get snow, and I think they get snow like all the cities, maybe not every city and not every year, but you know, they're used to like a very cold environment. But yeah, this was incredibly interesting, and I do think there's a lot of things that we can learn from the Dutch as well, especially the whole about being concise and asking for what you want. And yeah, just like it's being direct, and the whole thing about like planning things and just like being on time, or just being there's a lot of, I think, a lot of cultures that is just like, oh, let's hang out, and you say, oh yeah, like let's see it flow, like whatever. It's like we'll see. It's like no, we still will see, like let me know. Like it's on Wednesday at 7, where, like please tell me. So I like that, and I do think that more people should definitely adapt that way of life. But yeah, that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.